There once was a boy who walked away from a door that had been slammed behind him. Not because he was angry, because no one ever opened it again. He walked past the fields he wasn't supposed to cross, past the fence where the air smelled like ash and forgetting. And then he saw it. A shimmer, faint, but alive, arcing across the sky like a dare. A rainbow. It didn't promise treasure. It didn't promise safety. But it did not lie to him. So he followed it. Not because he believed in magic, but because he wanted to believe in something. At the edge of the light, he found a unicorn. Beautiful, glowing, unreal. It looked at him the way no one else had. So he reached out, not to catch it, just to see if it would stay. The unicorn bit him and ran. The boy didn't cry, but his hand burned, and he walked deeper into the trees. Not chasing it, not anymore. Just trying to understand why it hurt so much to lose something you never really had. The forest was not so quiet. It only seemed that way at first. The leaves whispered things he couldn't hear. The shadows watched, but never moved. His bitten hand began to change, not bleeding, silvering, like a thread pulled too tight through skin. It didn't hurt, not at first, but it didn't feel like his anymore. Sometimes he couldn't move it. Sometimes it moved without him. He thought of going back, but there was no door anymore. Just trees and moss and the weight of not being believed. The forest thickened. The sky forgot its color. The boy tried to hum a song he used to know, but he couldn't remember the tune. He stopped singing. He stopped wondering. He simply walked, and every step whispered, "Turn back." But he didn't. Not even when he saw something hunched beneath a rotted stump. At first, it looked like a part of the forest. Then it breathed. He stepped closer. It snarled. Some kind of animal. Its leg trapped in the roots. His heart pounded. His legs wanted to run. But instead, he knelt. Not because he wasn't afraid, but because he was tired of being afraid alone. He tried to move the roots with his good hand. They didn't budge. Then he reached out with the bitten one. The roots recoiled, and the creature opened one golden eye. A fox, made of dust and leaves and old magic. It didn't speak, but it understood. And where it had been trapped, something rose. A staff, twisted and silvered, pulsing like memory. The boy took it in both hands. It shimmered briefly, then went still. The fox nodded once and vanished into the trees. He had earned his first weapon, not to strike, but to remember. Where the forest nodded like old hair, the boy found something watching him. It was not a beast. It was not a person. It was something in between. The archivist. Its body was stitched from old truths. A raven's wing, a wolf's leg, a spine made of silver keys. Its faces shifted constantly. Wax, smoke, bone. It had too many mouths. "Took you long enough," it said. The boy asked what it was. "A collector," said the archivist, "of things no one wants to carry." It reached into its own chest, pulled out a scroll, wrapped in bark and bone, sealed with ash. "Don't read it just yet," it said. "Just carry it." "Why me?" the boy asked. The archivist tilted one of its faces toward him. "Because you still remember what it felt like to be touched by something that said it loved you, and then left a wound." The boy took the scroll. It was warm. It pulsed like memory. And as he held it, something whispered, "You will never be the same, but you will be true." He found it again by the lake. Not by accident. The scroll had grown colder with every step. The trees thinned, and the sky opened like a wound. There, beneath the bone-white moon, stood the unicorn. Not glowing this time. Not graceful. It trembled. Its eyes were clouded. Its flanks gaunt. Its horn cracked. But it was still beautiful. Beautiful in the way lies are beautiful. The boy didn't move, didn't breathe. And then he heard it. Not with his ears, with the place the bite had burned through. A voice, soft, familiar. "You're better than them. They are weak. Never bow. Never feel." It wasn't speaking to him. It was speaking to itself. The unicorn was infected. The boy stepped forward. "You were bitten too," he whispered. The unicorn met his gaze and wept. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just one tear, like silver rain. And then it turned and vanished into the trees. He didn't follow. He only stood there, one hand still burning, not from pain this time, but from recognition. The scroll led him forward, out of bark and root, into a place that didn't breathe. The path grew wide and barren, fields of withered grass, broken benches leaning under the weight of forgetting. Ahead, in the mist, the city loomed, tall and still and wrong. It rose like memory rewritten, perfect angles, smooth walls, light that never flickered. Every building wore a face. Every face smiled. Too long, too wide, too still. The boy tightened his grip on the staff. The scroll pressed cold against his chest. He took a breath and kept walking. He found the man before he crossed the city's gate. Not from the shadows, from a bench, as if he'd been waiting there forever. The man looked like a traveler, or a lost uncle, or a friendly hobo with too many teeth. His coat was long, patched with old stories, his boots worn through at the soles, and around his neck, a silver pouch. "Rough day?" the man asked. The boy said nothing. The man reached into the pouch and pulled out something soft, a small pinch of glowing dust. It shimmered in his hand, pale blue, weightless, like it wanted to float inside you. "Just a little," the man said. "It helps." "What is it?" the boy asked. The man smiled. "Nothing dangerous. Just something to make it all better. Takes the edge off. The noise fades. The ache. The remembering. The boy's hand burned faintly. The scroll pulsed weakly against his heart. He looked at the dust. It glittered like mercy. And for a moment, he wanted it. More than he wanted truth. More than he wanted anything. Just a little forgetfulness. Just a little silence. But then, he remembered the fox. The staff. The girl, somewhere ahead, still waiting to believe. He clenched the scroll in both hands and looked at the man. "No," he said. "Doesn't make it quieter. Just makes me disappear." The man's smile flickered. The silver pouch turned black in his palm, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. Like he'd never been there at all. The boy stood alone on the path. The city waited ahead, still glowing, still smiling, still pretending. And the boy stepped forward, into the lies. The city swallowed him. Not all at once. Gently. Like a story told too many times. Screens flickered overhead, showing versions of himself smiling without reason. The building shimmered with too much symmetry. The light fell without weight, and the boy's bitten hand began to dim. The scroll cooled in his arms. "This isn't real," he whispered. But the city answered, "You imagined the forest. There is no wound. There's only now. Let us shape your story." He almost let them. He almost wanted to. Their voices were soft, like lullabies hummed in locked rooms. But somewhere beneath the neon air, he still remembered the fox, the staff, the truth. And he walked on, still burning, still himself. The boy didn't sleep. He wandered the outer edges of the city, where the walls sagged, where wires wept from cracks in the concrete, where buildings looked like they wanted to be trees again. The scroll no longer pulsed. It just watched. And that's when he found the door. No knob, just a seam in the wall, stitched shut with string and thorns. But when he stepped closer, it blinked and opened. Inside, warmth. A tea kettle steaming on a crooked table. 2 chairs. A smile stitched from thread and sympathy. "Sit," said the counselor. Her skin was patchwork, soft, worn, embroidered with saris. Her hair was yarn wound tight into a bun. She poured tea from an empty pot. It smelled like damp carpet, like a basement after a storm. "You must be tired," she said. "You've been carrying too much truth." The boy hesitated. He sat, but he didn't drink. The counselor blinked slowly. Her eyelids buttoned shut at the corners. "Do you think maybe your memories are protecting you?" she whispered. "Sometimes pain is invented by children who want to feel important. You seem very sensitive. It's not a bad thing. It just makes you vulnerable to confusion." Before he could answer, the guide appeared. He didn't walk in. He unfolded from the shadows, from the wallpaper, from somewhere behind the silence. He was tall and thin, like a finger-pointing blame. His coat was made of report cards and rules. His mouth looked sealed until he spoke, and then it opened too wide. "We understand," he said. His voice echoed like it had to pass through a hallway first. "We know what you've been through, but the version you carry might not be useful anymore." He opened a folder made of dried leaves and police reports. Inside, names. His names. Some scratched in pencil, some carved in shame. One of them shimmered faintly. The one who ruined everything. The boy looked down. The steam from the tea curled like a memory. The walls seemed damp now. The light buzzed like it remembered drowning. You don't have to carry the broken version of yourself, the guide said. We can help you disappear into something softer. The boy stood. His hands shook. I don't want to disappear. The counselor leaned forward. But no one will believe you like this. The guide stepped closer, smiling gently. Don't be difficult. We're offering peace. The boy looked at the folder, at the stitched tea, at the gentle, hungry faces. He remembered the girl, the fox, and something else. A door, a light bulb, a sock soaked through. But the image slipped away. He opened the scroll. It burned faint gold. And he said, No. His voice cracked, but it didn't break. I will not take a name that makes you more comfortable. The walls peeled like damp wallpaper. The counselor unraveled. The guide folded inward. And the boy was alone again. Still afraid. Still shaking. But still himself. The scroll led him underground, beneath the city, below the lights and screens and smiling buildings, into silence. There were others there. Not many, just enough to feel like a breath after drowning. They didn't rush him. They didn't ask. They just looked up when he entered and waited. One by one they approached, touched the scroll, closed their eyes, and wept. They were scarred, bent, but not broken. No one spoke for a long time, not because there was nothing to say, but because truth doesn't always come with words. He sat with them, not as a leader, as someone who had also been bitten. And when he finally stood, he opened the scroll. It burned gold. And he read, To those who were bitten and told it was love. To those who were cast out and told it was their fault. To those who were silenced for remembering. You are not broken. You are not alone. The ground above them shuddered. The screens flickered. Dust rained from the cracks in the ceiling. Somewhere in the distance, something false was breaking. The boy clutched the scroll to his chest and climbed back toward the light. The crown didn't arrive with thunder. It arrived on every screen. A man in a red tie. A voice like a sermon wrapped in static. Hair too neat. Smile too fixed. Words too familiar. We hear you. We've always protected you. They're just trying to confuse you. Don't let them steal your story. You had it better before, didn't you? The boy didn't answer. The others stood behind him, silent, bitten, burned, still standing. The crown's voice turned warm and performative. You've been hurt. We know. That's why we're here. Let us clean this up for you. Let us reframe it. Just a little. You don't want people thinking you're angry. You don't want them calling you broken. The boy staggered under the weight of it. The screens above him began to drip, like the sky was leaking. The first raindrop hit his face. Cold. Familiar. "You're still the boy in the basement, aren't you? The one who ruined everything. The one who couldn't be trusted. You remember what they said. You remember the door." And then he did. There was yelling. There was the creaking stair, the slammed door, the floodwater rising, the hum of the fridge sparking, the light bulb dying. No one came back. Not when the toys floated. Not when the darkness whispered that it was his fault. Not when the water rose to his knees. He pressed his ear to the ceiling, waited. No one came. No one came. No one. The rain poured harder. It wasn't weather. It was memory. It was the drowning trying to happen all over again. The boy dropped to his knees. The scroll dimmed. The fire inside him flickered. The crown smiled wider. "You see, you've always been the problem. The unicorn ran, your family left, and you turned that into a fairy tale to avoid the truth." The rain became a torrent. Neon signs burst in the flood. The false city began to ripple. The boy shook. The scroll slipped from his hands, and then a hand. Small, steady, burned. The girl. She placed it on his shoulder. "I was sent away too," she said. Her voice was soft, but unshaking. "They told me it was my fault, and I believed them, because no one told me otherwise." She looked him in the eyes. "And then I heard your voice." He stood. Not fast, not triumphant, but upright. He picked up the scroll. It burned brighter than before. "You say I imagined it," he said to the crown, "but you've spent your whole life trying to rewrite it." The rain hissed as it touched the scroll's light. The fire began to climb the city walls. "Your lies only made the truth heavier, and I carried it anyway." The crown flickered. Its skin pixelated. Its smile cracked. Its words glitched. Behind the screens, bark, moss, sky. They had always been in the forest. The city had only been a mask. The fire spread. Not a consuming fire, a revealing fire. The rain did not put it out. It made it burn truer. The crown reached out one last time. "We can still make it nice. We can still make it easy. You don't have to make this political." But the boy opened the scroll wide, and it dissolved in his hands like firelight. And the crown, smile frozen, voice broken, vanished. And the forest began to breathe again. The city didn't fall. It peeled, one screen at a time, one slogan at a time, one false promise at a time, until beneath the streets, beneath the polished glass, beneath the names they had tried to make him wear, was bark and soil and breath. The forest had never left. It had only been covered. And now it remembered. Not with joy, with sorrow. Because the truth didn't rise like a sunrise. It rose like a bruise. The boy stood in the clearing where the city had been. Others gathered around him, each holding their own version of the scroll, each glowing faintly, each with a different kind of burn. The scroll no longer pulsed. It didn't need to. It lived in them now, passed hand to hand, voice to voice, scar to scar. He looked down at the staff in his hand, twisted root, silvered grain, memory made solid. It had carried him when he forgot how to walk. It had held him when the world tried to unmake him. But it was no longer a crutch. It was a memory. And memories, real ones, are meant to breathe. The staff shimmered in his hands, glowed, and then crumbled into threads of silver mist. From the mist, small paws touched the earth. A squirrel, pale as winter bark, eyes bright as untouched snow. It looked at him the way the unicorn once had, but without the hunger, without the wound, just presence. It chirped once, softly, almost laughing. Then it turned and bounded into the trees. The boy watched it go, not chasing, not afraid, just ready. He brushed his hand across his face and paused. Something caught the light. In his reflection, faintly mirrored in a pool of rain and fire ash, his right eye glinted gold. Not fully, just a fleck. Enough to see the thread between truth and forgetting. Enough to see what needed tending. He looked toward the tree line, and there, just for a moment, the fox watched. Silent, ember-eyed, proud. It didn't approach. It didn't lead. It just witnessed. And then, with a soft ripple of leaves, it was gone. The boy smiled, and for the first time in a long time, he hummed. The tune cracked at first, fragile, half forgotten, but it was his, and it grew stronger with every step he took into the breathing, remembering woods. The forest thinned as he walked. The song still trembled on his tongue. The golden fleck in his eye caught the candlelight ahead. He followed it, not chasing, just breathing. The ruins of a library opened before him, walls cracked with vines, shelves leaning like old trees. Among the broken books and forgotten scrolls, a single candle burned. And beside it, the archivist. Not as he remembered, no longer stitched and shifting, now stone and stillness. Cracks webbed across his body like the rings of an old tree. One wing folded against his side, the other broken, but still reaching toward the sky. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The boy sat down across from him, placed his hand over the golden light that pulsed at his chest, and listened. The library didn't hum. It breathed. Memory was not gone. It was living. It was in him now. For a long time there were no words. Only the candle between them. Only the breathing. And then, soft as a turning page, the boy smiled. He stood. The archivist nodded, not in command, not in farewell, in recognition. And the boy walked on, carrying the flame forward. There is no ending. Only firelight. Only walking. Only the sound of truth being spoken aloud for the first time, over and over, until it no longer sounds like rebellion. Just memory. The boy is not a boy anymore. Not because he aged, because he remembered. He walks where the forest grows through glass, where vines curl around broken billboards, where old lies crumble like dust on the tongue. He walks, and others walk with him. Some carry scrolls, some carry scars, some carry songs with no words yet. And still, a squirrel dances ahead, sometimes visible, sometimes not. And somewhere farther behind, soft as a flicker of smoke, the fox watches, not as a guide, as a witness. Because this story does not belong to the boy alone. It belongs to anyone who was told they were imagining the wound. Anyone who was bitten and told it was love. Anyone who tried to shrink themselves to fit someone else's story. Anyone who stopped singing because the world taught them silence. There is no map for what comes next. Only voice. Only memory. Only the forest growing back, one song at a time.